Hello, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here, and Ashley and I are back to talk about some more fun stuff. So what's really cool is like we don't just talk here. Ashley and I talk all the time about stuff that are very, very interesting, and that's why we start deciding to come together and do it on this YouTube channel, because we thought we should be sharing what we're talking about. So you sent me an article after we were talking on the last recording, and I found it really fascinating. I will put the link to this book on the information, the description, after I post this on the YouTube channel. So it's going to be.
I haven't read this book. I've only read like that I
Neither
sent
one
you,
of us have, huh?
Yeah. And so Carrie, the one that I'm like, Carrie should come on here. We should have Carrie come on here because
we'll have
she
Carrie come in next time.
A decoder. She'll read something and then have like, oh, hummingbird just went by, and she'll have like all these downloads about what it is. And then we always find something in the 3D that matches, like, oh my God, that's exactly what we said. So then we joke and we say, so you know how like people will channel the Galactic Federation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then Carrie and I will be like, we must be the Galactic Federation. They must be getting our information from us, because when we talk about something a couple of days later, like teachers that we follow will be talking about the same thing. So then we know, we just laugh because then it's funny, but it kind of all matches that we're all in the same collective mind, and we're all just getting the same information from the same places when you're at a certain frequency that you can receive it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that same exact thing, that I would follow these different channelers that I absolutely love. And I would start to hear them talk about things that I was already just getting the knowing, and didn't really know where it was getting it from. Just it was a knowing. And then I would hear them talk about it. So I started to figure out that we're all tapping in. And like I said, the higher the frequency you're holding, the more likely you're tapping into it. And what is it you're tapping into is a question, right? Like this fourth dimension collective mind. So I was going to share a couple things on this page out of the book. Neither one of us have read. Disclaimer. We'll have Carrie on. But I'm familiar with Barbara Handclough.
Me too. I've read her other books.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're familiar with her. And this section is the introduction of the book. It's called The Story of Pleiadian Transmission. And I know that I have incarnations as a Pleiadian and have, lived as a Pleiadian in the past. So I feel very connected to them. And so one of the things she talks about is we are the chosen keepers of the third dimension. That basically there's been a destruction of the earth is what has been happening over time. And part of it is we're coming back to our sacred role of being the keepers, and that Earth is a very, very special planet in the universe that holds many beautiful codes that are part of what is here to see the entire galaxy, right? So it's kind of a deep subject, but the piece that I want to come back to, and she's referencing her book, The Pleiadian Agenda. And we'll put this down on the links, guys, so you can, if you feel called to, read it. And that's usually how we know what we're supposed to learn, is we feel just called to read something. And she talks about Earth having the 9 dimensions available that we actually have. We can learn from all these dimensional frequencies. We can access them. And that they offer us this enhanced intelligence. And that after thousands of years of separation from the divine, that our collective mind, which functions in the 4th dimension, is caught in a field of polarized archetypal thought forms that are locked in our bodies and our minds as emotional trauma blocks.
Okay, and I got something to say about that.
Me too. Okay, go for it. Because I had that, I marked that one special.
Well, it's just like a whole nother avenue to go into, right? Because we talk about like there's that whole spiritual consciousness group or whatever you want to call it, like the stuff that we're talking about. And I think I've told you before that I've been playing around with the idea or with the notion that when they talk about how our bodies are moving from a carbon base to a crystalline grid, when I see the crystalline grid in the body, I don't see chakras. I think that the chakra system has been infiltrated possibly by the 4D superhighway of information that is helping store trauma in the body. So I think that the chakra system, while it was a good tool, will become obsolete because we're moving past that technology. So while it was good for people to understand that there's energy in your body in certain centers, the it's exactly what you said, that there is trauma getting embedded in the chakras that is keeping us suppressed. And if there's no chakra system, I don't know, I feel like there's some like me. If there's no chakra system, then there's no place for anything to get stuck.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, when you said that, I didn't think of it that way, but it would make sense because the crystalline form that our bodies would uh, evolve to are holding energy in a different way. It's
Yeah.
not, and so that would make sense that the chakra system would not be the way that the energy flows. It would be gridded in a way that the entire body is a light body.
Right.
So
It's all unified.
yes,
Right.
all
And so
unified.
why would we have certain energy centers? Why wouldn't the entire thing be an energy center powered by the heart?
Yeah. Yep, it makes sense. And then, of course, the first three chakras are earthbound, and they would have to change even if maybe part of the evolution would be that they would need to change somewhat because the first chakra is really based in stability, security, survival, and in that higher dimension, that doesn't exist. So there isn't fear, and there isn't a sense of the organism trying to survive. It is actually more being. It is in a being state of light.
Yes.
So what I noticed about this piece is that is what I do in my practice is I'm actually helping people clear the mental and emotional trauma blocks that are held energetically in the energetic systems. So it's
Mm.
interesting that she says this because when these thought forms and these energetic motion forms are released, then what happens is the person's higher self, the higher frequency part of who they are, absolutely begins to engage more and begins to
Mm.
more anchored into the physical form. And the difference when that happens is that person begins to know, doesn't have that, how we typically get stuck in which way to go. We have a
Yeah.
knowing which way to go. So life becomes very smooth. We don't seem to be calling up a friend to ask, what should I do anymore? Because there's just this knowing. So
And that's what it comes down to. Like you can have a session with someone, or you can go to Reiki, or you can, have an awesome meditation on your own and clear it all out and feel good. And then it's like maybe an hour later or a day later, or, it doesn't matter. You're just dropped right back
yeah,
into the lower chakras. Like, why can't we sustain that high frequency all of the time? Or are we not meant to? Are our bodies not meant to because we are playing in the 3D field, which is an expression of duality? Why can't how when can you stop using all these modalities and just be the light and not feel like you keep having to do work on this because you keep dropping? What do you think?
it depends. So like one of the reasons, I think there's several reasons, but I know that one of them is that if you have a lot of this energy in your system from ancestral blocks that you're holding. Sometimes light workers come in and they agree to hold the energy of the ancestral lineage of that family to clear it, and so they'll be the one that's holding it.
Did you see that there's a new Disney movie coming out for
No.
Thanksgiving, and it's called Encanto, and it's all about how people have gifts and then they're losing their gifts because and they're having to like clear their ancestral lineage. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
what? Yeah, like what
Yeah.
is I mean, it's all disclosure everywhere. They're showing us everywhere if we just use our eyes to see.
Yes, the information is there. You can't see it if you're in a lower frequency. you can't see higher frequency things, and that's just the law of dimensional, how we operate. So we can see below our frequency, but we cannot see higher. So I'm sure that will go over the heads of many people who are not awakened. But the other thing too is they say here, clever media demons manipulate the 4D collective mind to amuse themselves, make money, and capture innocent souls, or merely to avoid looking inside themselves. The 4D zone is not their personal territory, since 4D is a bridge out of the physical to the divine. It is not meant to be an insipid frequency zone that crams our head with stupid images through advertising, pornography, and internet spam. So that also was very interesting, because really the 4D is part of the collective mind, but it is also somewhat kind of where the whole internet, social media, all of that stuff can come in and start. And how do you understand it? That's how I was getting that this is what's affected the collective mind of many people who are stuck watching mainstream media all the time, or even just watching, cramming their head full of information. It could even be truth seekers, who are trying to expose the cabal, trying to expose, the corruption.
Right. So this creates this spinning effect where we're just constantly spinning in whatever is thrown at us, whatever we're seeing every day. It's just, but if you become aware, like, okay, the 4D is this super highway or this train station, I can pick the higher thought, the higher frequency, but then how do I maintain that? And I think that's like what you're talking about is saying, okay, I know mainstream media is not good for me, so I'm going to cut that out. Or I know, like for me, Kris, a few years ago, 4 years ago, probably this month, I was like not feeling good and feeling like I need to feel myself. I need to feel peace. And so I quit eating meat. I love eating meat. So it's not a matter of like that I had a thing for animals or anything. It was like, how do I feel closer to God and feel closer to me? So that was my outlet. As soon as I cut out meat, I felt a certain calm and peace within me, like I could get in my higher chakras and hold it longer because of the whatever that density was doing for me. So it's kind of like an intuitive thing where people go, okay, I know there's more. I know this doesn't feel good. So what can I do to tap into the frequencies that make me feel good? And then you just start doing more of that. It really is about, oh, I think my pool guy's coming. It really is about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
And going with it, even if you look crazy, even if you feel like, why am I doing this? Like you just follow your own resonance. And then it's like this whole paper trail that is left for you to kind of like discover on your own. And everybody has a different path. So like some people really can tune into their higher self by being like a baseball player or a painter or volunteering at school. Like it does not matter. Like we talk about, all roads lead to Rome. It does not matter. But when you're picking the higher, when you have that, when you feel it inside and you can make the distinction of this feels good, this doesn't feel good, then you just keep choosing the what does feel good. And then it's like you become more aware, you start feeling better. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's really the discernment process. I do feel we're going back and forth, and I do believe that's part of what we're here to master, is this ability to be in form, in 3D duality, to observe it in 4D and be in awareness of us being in 3D. And then, my people might be coming. And then to be able to bridge over eventually to 5D, but that's to me the state of love and the state of complete connection to source. So there are the concepts I understand, but I have not embodied yet. So I'm still learning that concept, and there's a mastery that we gain as we move back and forth.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's never going to get all the way done. I think it's just the journey. And once you start realizing what is going on and observing, then like, if I will be good all day, and then it's time to pick up the girls up from school, and then one little thing and I snap right out, and then I could just know, okay, this is self-mastery. The other day they were fighting in the kitchen, and it was like all of a sudden, like, it's taking me years to get there, right? And I feel like we are trying to consciously create our reality. They started fighting in the kitchen, and I go, it was like I almost feel like myself, I was backing out of my body and watching, like, okay, am I going to take the bait and participate in this fight that they are doing? Or it was like all of a sudden I wasn't taking the bait. I don't know how to explain it. It was like something finally clicked.
Yeah, you
Where I was
stayed in your frequency, I think.
yes. And I'd never, like, I'm still learning how to do that because, our families are our best teacher. And so all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, I'm choosing how I'm responding. What am I choosing? But it's so hard to explain. It felt so different. And I feel like it's just a constant spiral of the same things that keep coming up. And how do we choose? Because I don't think this is ever going to get done.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what our soul's purpose is, right? What did we choose to do and come here for? So some of us are really here to embody and move into the higher dimensions, and create that frequency shift for the planet. So, and some of us are here to stay connected to the 3D realm. I noticed that people with children are more likely to get stuck or anchored into 3D because one, children are the one thing that really creates a lot of fear in parents. Fear for their safety, fear for their well-being, fear on many levels of their well-being. Some parents are fearful their children won't graduate from college because they think that if you don't, you'll be homeless and on the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's like massive fear around little things, but they're afraid for their child to start driving because their fear is they're going to die or somehow they're going to. So they have all this stuff that happens, and
well, and the kids help us ground in, because if I didn't have kids, Kris, I would just be floating around because I prefer to just be floating around. And so, like, grounding myself into my body and feeling comfortable and safe and
yes.
and all those things is hard for me. So kids do help, like, bring it all home.
Well, I know that you and I have so much more to say about this, and I think that one of the things that I wanted to talk about next time is about maybe some simple practice techniques for people to do in order to, like, for when things pop up, how do they start to make that choice point that you talk about and keep anchored into the higher frequencies? And I think that would be helpful. I know that I'm probably cutting this short, but I'm anticipating somebody coming over to do some work on the house. Unfortunately, I can't just move in, but I think that it's really interesting.
Oh, go ahead. No, I think it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah, how do we do this? What is our purpose? And I'm also interested in talking about soul purpose. Like the different type of light workers. What are each one of us here? And I'm sure there are people who are listening to this who may wonder, what is my purpose? I know that I came here to do something, and I might have something specific that I am being called to do. And how do we know, what that is?
Yeah.
How did you learn what yours was? Like, do you have a sense of what you're here to do?
Well, I felt like, a lot of people go, what am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing? And then I kind of felt like that was a loop of trying to figure, that almost felt distorted. Like, I don't think we're taught that we're supposed to do. And I think we're just supposed to be. And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be. And so what I've been doing lately, because I'm always like trying new things, is I'm like, okay, I am breathing. I am unloading the dishwasher. I am watching that bird. Like, I'm really practicing presence in a way that I have never before, because it feels so important to be present. And I know there's so many teachers that teach this, but it hit on a whole new level when, if you think about presence, I was watching Feel Good, and I freaking love Feel Good, but he was talking about when you're present, nothing can bleed through. Like none of your stories matter when you're present. Like it doesn't matter what you ate for breakfast. It doesn't matter like who wronged you 12 years ago. It doesn't matter what happened when I was in elementary school. Like none of it matters. None of it. If it's all happening in the quantum field all at once and you are present, it's a loophole to not have trauma activated in your chakra system. Because if you're present, there's nothing that's getting stuck because you're just present.
Yeah.
So
That's
really
absolutely, you're right on 100%. That's so incredible because it's such a simple thing and yet so hard to do, you know, and I know it's, but when I do the energy clearing stuff, that's the same thing. It's very simple to clear energy. There's not a big, long process. It is literally acknowledging it, setting your intention and letting go. It's not a lot.
And my friend
But
said to me this morning, she goes, why do I have to keep cutting cords? What do you mean? I go, just clear out the energy in your house. I said, it's just like having a bunch of tabs open on your computer. Like you don't need those certain tabs. You just close them out. So you clean the slate. So
that's it exactly. Tabs open on your computer.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything like dramatic or crazy. Like, no, you're just cleaning up your computer. I always have like 30 tabs open on my computer. So I totally understand that,
Yeah.
but
And that deep, and doing the breath, by the way, because the breath, one time my guides were talking to me and they said, breath is light.
yeah.
And I realized in that moment, this thought came in immediately. It is the first thing that we do when we say yes to stepping onto this planet. And it is the last thing that we release when we return home. So breath, the light that infuses us with life here on earth. And so our breath is what brings us back to that still point inside. And so whenever you're upset, that, remember that saying, take a deep breath?
Yeah.
It's really take a deep breath. Breathe in, feel the air and the oxygen moving into your body. Sometimes people need to put their hands on their body, like to place themselves, connecting to the body. That's why earthing is so powerful. Put your feet in the sand, put your feet in the water, connect and breathe. Listen to nature, connect to the wind and the birds, the different sounds around you. And then so you become very present to how you feel in your body.
Yeah.
And right there, because you're tuning your body, you're giving your mind something to do, often is what starts to bring you back to that still point inside.
Yeah. And just having that realization that your breath in is life, your breath out is death. So it's just a constant thing all around us of, breathing in, breathing out, the inhale, the exhale, the love, the let go. Like it's all connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Connected. My daughter said something the other night, Kris, I have to tell you, because it might be if you got to go, it might be good to end it on. She's 11 and she was laying in her bed and she was like, okay, so basically we are all balls of light and God says, okay, take this body. So you just get in the body. And then when you're in the body, you can either choose to see someone with your soul or you can choose to see someone with your body. And I was like, yes, because if we were choosing to see each other through the soul, any decision anybody makes that could take you off your equilibrium or your balance or whatever, trigger you. If you see everything as from a soul perspective, there's nothing that's bad. There's nothing that's good. It's just all consciousness. It's the top of the triangle. Whereas if we're choosing to see someone's decisions, like she says, based on like my personality viewing that person, well, then heck, there's going to be a whole lot of triggers and a whole lot of trauma because people aren't doing what you want to do when you want it done and blah, 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 blah. But when she said it like that, I was like, yes, that's so simple. So I guess that's the answer. Like, how do we keep that high vibration or I don't really like to use high vibration, but like keeping the frequency high and clear and clean or whatever. It's really just choosing to see everything through the heart because that's where the soul is the heart. And when she said it's so simple.
Yeah, I love it. And that's kind of when I was saying earlier that you can see things from a 3D perspective or a 5D perspective. She's talking about 5D. It's like you stay in the heart and you know that we're all on a journey. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. We're just experiencing. And that is source. Source had this desire to experience.
Yeah.
And we're all this fractal, this one light experiencing. Um, and so when we are having an experience, like right now, the way the turmoil of the world, if we can pop into our heart and just stay there and observe it from that place of there's nothing wrong, so everybody is a soul having an experience, we can learn more about
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's such a good lesson of like keeping that childlike wonder, because that is real. The kids are the closest to God, and the kids are already built with that crystalline grid. So, you know, they are the way showers for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. She's such a little light worker already.
I know she is. I was like, oh, that was so good. Like I read so many books and talk to so many friends about all this, and you know, you're not talking to anybody. You just like spit that out before bed. Right? Like, what the heck? Who
You don't
are
talk
you?
to her about this stuff?
Well, I mean, yes, but you know, I like trying, you know, but I'm the mom, so it's like I'm not cool and I'm not, you know, it's like just different. So for her to like speak up about that,
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
So,
Thank you for coming
thank
on
you.
and playing with me again. We'll be
Yeah.
talking. We'll do some more stuff. We'll talk about our next stuff. And I love
Yeah.
you.
I love you too. Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody. I'll be putting some books on the bottom of our information thing so that you can also access some of the books that we've talked about.
Okay. Bye.